It's cool that it says on air.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's kind of fun. So here we'll show everyone some sounds that we could do. All right, here we are. No. Oh, State of the Union. What happened? Okay, I'll stop. Wait, thanks for today. This is going to be good.
Yeah, it will be good.
It's a great topic. I mean, it's actually a very pertinent topic to us right now. Pertinent topic to anyone who wants to start a business and is thinking about a partnership. So,
Yeah.
What are we going to chat about today?
Yeah, so just, I heard something on a podcast that you had sent to me the other day as a Jocko podcast. And there was the guy that he was interviewing was talking about partnerships and how he was like completely anti, like he's bagging on partnerships. Like partnerships are terrible. My old man told me never to have a partnership in business and everything. And then Jocko was like, well, I guess I've done everything wrong then because I've started businesses with all of my friends.
Yeah.
And so I thought that would be a good thing. You know, I know that we've both had experiences doing them both.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, especially somebody that's looking at starting a business, we talk a lot of times about how there's no real answer. Like there's some structural answers, and that's a lot of times what people want. You know, do I do an LLC or whatever, and that kind of stuff. And this really could be a precursor to that. I mean, are you going to try to go into business with somebody? Are you going to go into business by yourself? Are you going to, how's that going to work? So I think somebody that's looking to start a cash calf, start in on that journey. It might even be one of the, after you figure out what kind of business you want to start, probably the next question.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I agree. And we try to research out a little bit before we come on and chat. And so I went through a bunch of YouTube videos and just tried to read a few articles. And it's funny because it's actually very polarized.
Yeah.
It's like you do not ever go into business with anybody, especially with friends. And then there's others that are like, no, it's perfectly fine. You just need to make sure that you've set some boundaries and that you have proper established roles and rules.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely pros and cons in lots of different areas. I don't know the best way to structure our conversation. Do we do pros and cons of each, or do we do one and then go into the other? Or I don't know.
Well, let's talk some pros really quick, and then after that, let's talk some cons, and then
have you done both? Like, have you had some businesses by yourself, and then you've had some businesses with partners? And
actually, including right now. So at the Rock Gym, for a very short period of time, we had partners, but there was no clear roles that were ever established. And on that one, after that was done, I would say that I used the word that I never use anymore, and that's that I'll never.
Yeah.
Or I try not to live in absolutes, so I'm not going to say, oh, I will always this or I'll never that. At that time, I was like, I'll never go in a partnership again. It was my fault. We should have structured things a little bit different. We should have had clear roles from the very beginning. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Lay that out on the table and then figure it out from there. Yeah. We just didn't do that. Right now, this is our only partnership. Well, kind of. There's another one that's going on right now. We're building a commercial building and going into that with some friends too. But it's cool because we've had these conversations of, hey, look, our friendship is really important. In fact, our friendship's more important than anything. So what are these roles? What are these boundaries? I want you guys to know all my weaknesses. Here you go.
Yeah.
Like I told you earlier, you get a text after 9 p.m. I'm tired and probably took an Ambien. No, I don't take Ambien.
Well, and I've had the same kind of experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a good thing because it helps down the road, to kind of cover the bases a little bit easier and stuff like that. But yeah, I've had, for the most part, I look at everything as a partnership.
Yeah.
Whether, some of the other businesses I've had have been in partnerships with family members. Everything that I do, I look at as a partnership with my wife, even if it's a business that I'm running by myself. there's a partnership with her, but also when I look at doing, right now the business that I'm in, we have a lot of people that are subcontractors.
Yeah.
And so I don't really look at, and maybe I do a little bit, but I don't really look at even my subcontractors or even my customers as any different relationship. I mean, obviously there is some differences between my business partner, what the things that we're doing, and our customers, but I look at all those things as partnerships.
Yeah.
I have to treat people a certain way through all of those things, and I think some of those principles are the same, whether it's a business partner or whether it's a subcontractor, somebody working for me, or an employee, or a customer, or whatever. So the people that say I never want to do business in a partnership, I'm a little bit, and maybe it's because I don't know any different, but I'm kind of like, are you a person that I would want to do business with as a contractor or as a something like that? Because I kind of just look at it all the same, I think.
No, I think that's a great way of looking at it, because we're all connected. If you have somebody that's working on your house and they're a subcontractor, well, I need to figure out how I can how to win friends and influence people with them and add value to them, so that how to win friends and influence people, me, and add value to me. It's all just a connected circle. I think a lot of it comes down to attitude. It can be synergistic. Like business with a partner can be where, the sum of a whole. So you're 100% and I'm 100%, and the business now gets 250%. Like it's a synergistic thing. It can be a synergistic thing. Yeah. But if someone enters into the partnership going, sweet, I've got a partner, so I only have to do half the work. Well, that might be a little different, because you're never going to get roles 50-50.
Yeah.
Never. There's always someone that's going to be working a little bit more or a little bit less, and then maybe the roles switch and someone else is working more and someone else is less, and it's different work too. There might be labor versus knowledge that's getting put down, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
It's different. And so just knowing those roles, boundaries in the beginning, total game changer.
And I think that that's an important part. Is I really think a lot of people that fail in partnerships is because they don't have that structure and boundaries at the beginning,
Yeah.
And it's never going to be perfect. Like you said, like it changes, there might be a time when one person's doing more than the other, but I think realizing that, if you can see that your partner's doing more than you are, mention that. Hey, I can see that you're doing more. You've put more into this. What do I need to do to make it better? A lot of times just acknowledging that, they're like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm just doing, I'm just doing the job that needs to be done. There's my responsibility. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Even just, back to winning friends and influence people, just good people skills, good communication, good, just being positive and being appreciative of people really goes a long ways. Yeah.
Well, as a partner, how can I add value to you? That's something in a partnership. It's not necessarily, hey, we went into business together so that we can go and make a ton of money together. Well, no, I mean, how can you go add more value to people? Maybe a partnership is the right thing to do, but also how can I add value to my partner? And that works very well in marriage relationships too.
Yeah.
How can I make sure that I'm always adding value to Kira? Well, right now that makes for a pretty great relationship. And if she feels the same way back, and it works in partnerships and it works with subcontractors and everything. Mm-hmm. So, value creation is one of the pillars of Cash Calf. And it's funny how they all kind of can intertwine. We were laying out last week mindset and value creation and freedom and all of that. Well, it's funny because within each one of those, you can also, in mindset, you can talk about value creation and you can talk about freedom, like in every single one. So it's all a big circle.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think, it's interesting too to think about. I had another thought as far as everything being a partnership. I mean, it takes a team to run a business. You
Yeah.
know, I think a lot of times when we think, oh, I'm going into business for myself, we're kind of thinking about number one, you know, ourselves and whatever. But there's, you know, I don't even necessarily look at business that way. I mean, I've got an accountant, I've got an attorney, I've got, you know, I mean, it's a team of people that you are partnering with, even though maybe they aren't sharing a bank account with you or whatever. You know, there still is a team of people. Or an investor. You know, I think a lot of people think, well, I want to go into business for myself, but I don't have the money for it, so I've got to get an investor. And they might not look at that as a partnership. But
Yeah. Oh, it's a partnership.
it's a partnership. You know, it's no different than.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times we look at it pretty one-dimensionally of, hey, do you take on a partner? Do you not take on a partner?
Yeah.
And we're taking on partners all the time, I
Yeah.
guess. To me,
You
I don't know.
I think you're right. And you know what? It's a very individualized choice too.
Yeah.
You know, you're right that we're taking on partners all the time. But let's talk, you know, you're going to set up an LLC and you're going to go into a service business. Let's say you're going to clean carpets. I just have to like think through it in a certain way. You're going to clean carpets. Well, are both of you going to clean carpets? Because if you are, who's going to do the accounting? Who's going to do the marketing? Who's going to make sure that the legal is all set up? Who's going to do the finances? You know, maybe it's not the right thing if you're both carpet cleaners to go into business together.
Yeah.
It might be better to find like a nerdy person that can do all the bookwork and all the marketing and all of this because you're the technician. You know, that's a good synergistic way of doing it. Or knowing your limitations going in and you say, hey, we're both carpet cleaners. Do you know how to do finances? Do you know how to do marketing? Do you not? Maybe we need to bring on a third person. Or in the very beginning, we need to hire this out.
Yeah.
You know, just knowing the boundaries
Yeah.
and knowing your own limitations. I have a lot of limitations and I know where they're at. And right now, like downstairs, there's stuff going on. I have no clue because they're way smarter than I am in that field. And that is really important to know. Now, if someone comes up, this actually happens quite a bit and they're like, hey, this is my boss. I hate that. I'm not their boss. If I introduce myself to someone, I'm usually their friend or their coworker
Yeah.
because of that relationship. We're in a partnership together. I might sign the paycheck, but that doesn't matter. Like that, I don't even like saying it. I don't even like saying, oh, I signed their paycheck. No, we're coworkers. That's what it ends up being. There is equal work. It's just their work is very specialized.
Yeah.
You know, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does for sure. And I think that that's an important part too, is that if somebody's looking at starting a business and looking at, do I need to take on a business partner or whatever? And maybe it comes back to that. Like, you know, I've kind of generalized partnerships into a bunch of different things, but maybe if we talk about, okay, you're the person in your business making decisions. Do you want to share that with somebody else? And we call that the partnership.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's really important individually to know your own personality too, or to maybe you ask people about, you know, it's hard to know your own personality. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, think about the idea, think about your own personality. Are you going to have trouble not having complete control over that? Yeah. Or do you want to be seen as the boss? You know, maybe some people want to be introduced as the boss, and that's what's really appealing to them, is being the main guy or whatever. And so it's going to create some friction to share that responsibility with other people, or to share decision making with somebody else, or those kind of things. You know, that could be. I'm not that way. You know, I know that I have no problem doing that, like you're saying, you know, like more of a team mindset. But, you know, I'm sure that there is some individual characteristics that, if you can identify those ahead of time, maybe that helps you make the decision of, I could work with a partner, or no, maybe I couldn't. And that's not a negative thing. You look at a lot of the successful people and successful businesses, those type A, very focused individuals are very good in business. You know, we have a lot of examples of them, you know, like an Elon Musk or something that is very focused in his own the way that he does things and the way that he wants to make decisions and stuff. I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
Well, interestingly,
But-
he's the
but, you know.
face. He's the face, but he's not the only one there.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Facebook and you think Mark Zuckerberg. Well, you're not thinking of the team of investors that was there, Peter Thiel and Peter Thiel and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't just Mark Zuckerberg. It was a lot of people, but Mark was the face.
Yeah.
Elon is the face. But there's a lot of people back there, and there's partnerships that are going on. There's even at that level, it's investor relations with people that have $100 in the company.
Yeah.
You know, you own some Tesla stock. You own stock in Tesla. You're Elon Musk's business partner. You just don't realize it. You're very small. You have no say whatsoever in that company.
Yeah.
But if Elon gets on and says something you don't like, you pull your money from.
You have a choice.
You have a choice.
Yeah.
And if enough people do that, if he's not good enough with enough people, a company fails. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it in businesses. You've seen it in companies. Ones that they're like, this is too big to fail. It fails.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually a communication partnership issue.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and that brings on another, I kind of made some notes in my phone over the last couple of days as I've thought about this. And that was one of the other big ones was communication, which it's interesting as we're talking through this. I think we're probably making a bigger case for partnerships than against it.
Yeah.
But we'll get to the downsides as well, because there is some downsides to it as well. But, communication, you bring that up. And I think that that's huge. We have, I have a partnership right now that we, probably are, as far as partnerships goes, people might look at it and say, you guys are crazy, like that's completely against all of the things that we're told. We're told that you have to know each other for a long time and know each other well and your personalities and integrity and that kind of stuff. I'm in a partnership now that we didn't know each other really well.
Yeah.
But it's been a great partnership. We both brought things to the table that the other one was lacking, and so it's actually worked out really well. But I feel like one of the things that we did at the very beginning to kind of, and we'll see. I mean, who knows? There's obviously going to be problems come up down the road and stuff. There always is in businesses, but it probably won't be a individual problem. It'll be problems within the business that we solve and whatever. But right at the beginning, we kind of laid out, our structure and groundwork for, hey, here's the responsibilities and how they're going to get split up. Yeah. Here's how we want to do the finances or whatever. And so there was a great deal of communication that we had on that was very open about, all aspects of the business. And we've been that way all the way through. We get, different bids for a job or something like that. We're forwarding them and communicating back and forth. Like each of us knows exactly where we're at in the whole process.
Yeah.
Everybody has complete access to the finances. Both of us have, it's very open and back and forth so everybody can see that. So I think the communication part is huge, and some of that structure around that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you're totally right. It's cool to hear your story with that, and from the background and people listening, they don't know, but like seeing it, it's been really cool to watch.
Yeah,
it seems from the outside you guys have been very synergistic. I see things online from both of you. Other than that, I mean, I know nothing. Yeah. But it's been really cool to watch that all happen. Watch something come to fruition, and see a partnership work well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, not that we've done anything special, but I think that it's, looking back, it's pretty straightforward stuff.
Yeah.
It's stuff that you would do in a regular relationship with anybody, that you wouldn't become friends with somebody and then not be open and communicate effectively and all those kind of things, Or like a marriage, like you said before, I think a lot of successful marriages are just very open. Everybody has access to money and finances and whatever it is, and has the same goal and vision. I don't know.
I think if there's one thing that if it's withheld in a partnership, the worst thing you can withhold, there's a lot of things you can withhold that are bad, but if you're not straightforward with money. There's something with money. I mean, obviously, you get into business for money, but we teach you get into business to add value. Because I don't want someone to give me $1 if they're not getting $1 worth of value. In fact, I'd rather give them $5 worth of value for $1. That way it's always falling in their favor. But as soon as there seems to be any discrepancy with monies, it's just not okay. So that, I would say, 100% in the bank account, you're there. It's open. It's open to anyone within the business that wants to see it, because that's just it just is how it is. Also, any public good or public bad, like letting partners know that very quickly. Hey, this is coming up. And I just got onto American Ninja Warrior, so I didn't. But so you need to know that, or hey, my other business is going out of business. It's probably going to be in the news. Just letting them know that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that goes right back to communication.
Yes, exactly.
And that's, I look at, and I haven't had any real catastrophic failed partnerships, but I look back and I do have some partnerships that definitely could have gone better.
Yeah.
And those 2 points are probably the biggest reason that those, and they weren't bad necessarily. It wasn't like, a terrible experience, but we could have communicated more effectively.
Yeah.
And I could have communicated more effectively. I think that's another big part of it, is taking individual ownership.
Oh yeah.
If there's a problem in the partnership, even if I'm not the direct cause of the problem.
Yep.
It's my problem. Like
take that responsibility.
I had, whether it's a breakdown of communication or whatever, I had something to do with that, And so I think that communication was probably a big part of it. And then the structure, not having structure on, and structure could be something that's set up in a lot of different ways. Maybe it's divvied out by time. Each partner's going to, spend X amount of hours working in the business, or maybe it is divvied out by responsibility, Yeah. And so I think depending on how you structure that kind of stuff, you need to look at, okay, if it's divvied out by responsibility, I'm okay if I'm working a little bit more than my partner is, hour for hour or whatever, because I know that they're doing some things that I wouldn't be able to do, or they're doing it better or whatever, I mean, so there's some of that, but as long as you have that structure in place, you can kind of identify that.
Yeah.
And then it's easier to say, well, we need to do a little bit different. It's easier to build upon that. If you have none of that structure,
it's tough.
Then there's nothing to go off of anyway.
Tough, or maybe almost impossible. You get 10 years into it, and there's expectations that just weren't there, or maybe something was verbal. Maybe it was, hey, I know we've never taken money out of the bank except for to pay ourselves, and I've always said that you're 40% of the business, but you've got to have that written down.
Yeah.
It's got to be written down, or else someone throughout time will just kind of get burned. Now, we were talking about this before we hit record. I would rather lose a business than a friendship.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it to me. Like money has to exist so that we can pay our bills, but I'd rather go do something else than lose a friendship. And so that's probably also a good way to approach it. It's like, hey, this is fun. This is awesome. We're going to add value. We're helping, but it's not as important as that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in every relationship, right? Like, what about, it's easy to parallel this with a marriage or, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. It's easy because it's like, yeah, if I approach all of this with my wife and I go, how can I add value to her life? I take responsibility, like, hey, sorry, that was my fault. She's like, well, what? It wasn't your fault at all. No, but it was, and here's all the reasons, and just all of that. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Everyone needs to go read that book, because that's this.
Yeah.
A partnership, if both people are using the principles that are in How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, plug. I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's all individualized. Every business is going to be a little bit different, but I do get leery, not weary. I get leery when both partners are the same type of person.
Yeah.
Meaning like they're both the framer. They're both the graphic designer. At least communicate and get it set up.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's probably okay, maybe, I don't know. But even in that scenario, it's probably okay as long as you both recognize that.
Yes. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
say, look, we both have a really good understanding of the technical part of this. Let's divvy up some responsibilities. So you go learn about accounting, I'll go learn about contracts or something, and kind of divvy it up, or outsource that, and then say, well, you're really good at sales and I'm really good at, websites or whatever. Let's kind of split that up. Yeah. And it's never going to be, I think the other thing is realizing that it's never going to be even perfectly. Like it's just impossible. Like think about your marriage. Like how do you even quantify, my wife's at home taking care of the kids right now. I'm here doing this podcast. Yeah. She's doing something that probably isn't real high on her fun list today. Yeah. And I'm doing something here that's just totally awesome and fun. Yeah. And then, but it goes back and forth. But there's no way to quantify each and every one of those times. That's and if you are trying to keep track of that, you're psycho. Like it's impossible. And that's hard.
Yes. And that's going to lead to the downfall. Yeah. That's what's going to lead to the partnership failure, is when you're going, man, I'm working so much harder then. Well, then that means you're also not communicating the problems with the right person.
Yes.
So something that is in a Jack Canfield book, he goes, people always complain to the wrong person. They'll go home and complain to their wife about their coworkers, and then they'll go complain to their coworkers about their wife, when it should be switched. Mm-hmm. Hey, wife, I'm having these issues. Let's talk about them. Okay, cool. This is a great, healthy relationship. Hey, coworkers, I'm having an issue. Let's talk about this. Those are the right people. So if you, like you said, if you ever get into that, you're talking to the wrong person.
Yeah.
Go talk to your partner. Get it worked out now.
And learning how to communicate that effectively. I think there's a book called Crucial Conversations. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Great book.
It's either crucial
Talks
or
about that.
difficult
or critical.
Critical. I don't know, but it's something close to that.
Something along there. And great book where it talks about this, And it's valuable to not just in partnerships. I mean, this could be with a coworker. This could be, this will help you communicate with your boss. Yeah. This will help in many different ways. But, I think that's another important point, is just maybe we're just debunking a lot of the problems with partnerships here.
It might be.
But, like I've thought about, we've had there's always problems to solve in a business. And there's times when, maybe a portion of it is frustrating or whatever. A lot of times the other person doesn't even know that that's going on,
Very true.
And so you get all defensive and like, what the crap, man, whatever. And it's like, well, then it starts a fight, Yeah. Whereas if you can communicate effectively and say, hey, like this is important to me. I wish we could have communicated a little bit further on this, or a little bit better. And that's like, oh, well, I didn't even think about that. Like it just opens up the communication. And then, you usually at the end of those kind of things, you come away and you're both better. Yeah. And you gained trust with each other that you can communicate on bigger problems in the future effectively. But.
Yeah, that's very true. It's kind of when we worked at the fire department, you kind of get partnered up with somebody, and in the beginning, you're kind of learning that person and who they are, what they do, how they work, and 6-8 months in, you're like, dude, they got my back. Or I've got their, but like, you just kind of know because you've worked on it. You kind of have to, in that situation, you have to. It's not like you can just dissolve your partnership. So you have to have that open communication. You have to be good. I mean, there's one individual in particular that is kind of a bully to people. And I got partnered up and I was like, man, I hope this is going to be okay. Well, a couple months in, I was like, man, this guy's awesome. Yeah. I had to learn him, and I had to learn that I had to shoot back fast. If he made a little joke about me or whatever, like you had to quickly get in, and I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. But as soon as you did that, it was like, hey, we're good. Mm-hmm. Like, we're good. And he's good. He's cool. Yeah. Great person. Just Had to learn that.
But it took a little bit of work on your part
Yeah.
to figure that out.
Yeah, it wasn't him. I know he wasn't thinking,
Yeah.
I need to work on myself.
Yeah.
But I was, because
And
I wanted it to work.
You could see other people that would totally
Yeah.
clash with that too.
Absolutely.
And so I think that that's back to, as an entrepreneur, like that might be, we talked about sales a couple episodes ago and how important sales were. And yes, that's important. But this being personable and communicating and knowing how to get along with all types of people for an entrepreneur might be number one.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's a great skill to have.
And it is sales, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you're good with people, I have a buddy who just started a new job, and he's pretty excited. It's a sales job, and he's so good with people. He doesn't realize it. He's one of those guys that's like, like he's just humble.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're gonna be so good at this. Like all you get to just go talk to people all day long. That's what you do anyways. Like that's awesome.
Is he like one of the guys that just BS's and just hangs out and he just, easy to talk to? And,
Oh, he's so great. I'm Brady.
oh, yeah.
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 It was just funny because he's way excited about this job, and from the outside, I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, you're about to make it.
Yeah.
All you got to do is go talk to people, be yourself, and you're going to go sell stuff. And he sends a text with they're doing like Milwaukee days, 10% off. I'm like, dude, you just sold me like $1,000 worth of stuff right there.
Coming in today.
Done. And all it was a text. And he's just good with people. He knows that I like Milwaukee stuff, so he's like, hey, if I shoot something over to, and he's not even thinking. Here's the thing, he's not thinking Tyler's going to come buy something. He's thinking, Tyler might want to buy some Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And this is a good deal.
I'm going to save Tyler 10%.
Exactly.
It's not, I'm going to make the company 90% or whatever.
Yeah, it's just cool. That right there, like I could go into a business partnership with Brady and everything would be good because he's a great communicator. I attempt to be a great communicator. And as long as we've had those conversations in the beginning and we're open communication-wise, you know what? It's tough.
Yeah.
Now that like we have gone all about partnerships and why they're awesome, they can be difficult though, because you have to be working constantly on yourself and you can't be thinking, how can I change my partner?
Yeah.
Because I can't physically go in and change anybody. Now you might be able to curb where they're going. Honestly, your text to me was awesome when it was like, hey, we should talk about business partnerships. And I was like, business? Wonder if that's like his nice way of telling me we need to have this conversation. But even if it was that, it's like, that's a great way of saying, hey, we should talk about this. Well, then all of a sudden there's that communication. It's really good. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
Now I said it was going to be difficult. This hasn't been difficult at all, but it could get there.
Yeah.
So we write everything down. Okay, now let's talk about the crappy stuff.
So I have just on the positives.
Oh yeah.
So I had a couple quotes. Maybe there's a positive. I think so. And it's exactly what we're talking about. So in that book that I told you I studied a lot last year, How to Own Your Own Mind.
Yeah.
And it's a Napoleon Hill book. So kind of like When Friends and No, he's not.
Dale Carnegie. A little different.
That's right.
Little different time.
He was like Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. So, but in there, so he's interviewing Andrew Carnegie, who is a big time multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever. And he said his number one rule Andrew Carnegie's number one rule for being successful was being able to work with others with a minimal of friction.
Oh, that's cool.
Was like their number one. And then it's interesting because one of my business partnerships, we kind of had a similar conversation to this. Like, at the beginning we had, we laid it all out and and he said one of his favorite quotes, which was really cool, was by Stephen R. Covey, and it's doing business at the speed of trust.
Okay.
And so like just the more that you can trust somebody, it's easier to just get stuff done quicker. And I've seen that a lot. You text somebody and, yep, I'll take care of it. And it just happens. You don't have to worry about, if all the finances are open and you can see exactly what's going on and everybody can see what's going on, then there's trust there, and it's easy to just move forward and get stuff done. So So there we just built up all of the pros about a partnership, I guess.
The tough thing is I feel like anything negative that we say, we can be like, well, better communication.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah.
It's a little personal story. So I was trying to promote at the fire department, and I was in this big interview. You know, it's all the chiefs and everybody. And all of my answers kept being better communication, better communication. I didn't get the promotion, and they told me the reason why is because I kept saying better communication on all the interview questions. And I was like, "Can you prove me wrong?"
Yeah.
You know, like
communicate to me how that's not true.
Yeah, it was just kind of funny because really better communication. And that really is the answer to probably, well, everything.
Yeah.
Like, hey, why were you speeding? Well, sir, I haven't been communicated with well enough. I'm not educated properly in why I should be going.
I need a bigger sign to communicate to me the speed limit.
Police officer, you did not sell me that I should be going the right speed. You got to work on those ads.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I hope people know this is a little sarcastic here.
No, but I think, you know, there is some major considerations. You know, there is some negative things to take on, partner. There's a lot of positive. I feel like that in the right partnership, you can get a lot more done. You know, you can collect more you can have more capital, you can have more expertise, a lot of that stuff. Some of the downsides is it does take more work.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
You know, it does take more communication. It does take more structure, probably. You know, if well, not probably, it does. I mean, if I'm the only one starting a business, do I really have to have articles of incorporation for my LLC and who gets to sign on the bank accounts and stuff? No, it's just me.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, maybe you should.
What's that?
But maybe you should.
Yeah, you really should.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of, you can slack it a little bit, you know, because you know what you're doing. You know, you you might not know what you're doing, but that doesn't matter as much as if there's not somebody else.
Yeah.
That's
that decision
in there.
You're like, who made that decision? Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
Who signed that check? Oh, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that could be a plus for starting a business individually.
Yeah.
Is being able to make all of those decisions.
And you can make less money in the business and get by. You know, a partnership, you're probably going to have to more than double your revenue so that you can each get paid. And because that's a larger organization in the very beginning, there's just more to pay.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you need an attorney to write up an agreement. Well, there's some money there. You're probably going to have an accountant at that point. Well, there's some money there. Bank accounts should definitely be joint. Like, you know, just don't even mess with money. That's obviously over there. So you got to that's where I was going with that, is just more money.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you definitely have to, and I think that goes back to looking at your business plan as a whole. I mean, are you planning on making $100,000 in a business?
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, maybe there's not enough room for two of you to do it.
Yeah.
You know, or if you're making $50,000 a year or whatever, if there's not maybe the possibility of scaling that, which, I mean, there's not really any businesses that you can't scale.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but it just kind of depends on what your plan is as a whole.
Yeah.
I guess. So.
Well, and if having a partner is going to limit you, definitely don't take on a partner.
Yeah.
You know, especially if for some reason that business can't scale. Well, you can't scale it, so don't move it into another person and, you know, half everything.
Yeah.
It's definitely okay not to have a partnership. Like, you know, for 40 minutes we were talking about how important it is, or, you know, that it can be good. It's also really nice not to have a partner. You know, all those decisions, everything that you just said, there is something freeing. You don't have to worry about someone else. I think that can be combated. Everything we say that's negative, we can just combat. But it can be combated through good communication.
And I think that's a good point too, because sometimes I worry, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
whereas it's like, oh, am I putting in enough effort or whatever it is? Well, if you're the only one in the business, then which you should be asking that of yourself anyway, because maybe you don't have a partner, but you have customers. And so you should be looking at it in the way of, am I doing enough for my customers? Am I putting in enough effort to add the value that I want to my customers? So that's kind of always there. Yeah. But it is different when it's you that's solely responsible for it,
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some things that people would say against a partnership? So, well, really quick, I guess just to answer that a little bit, and then you answer it. That guy in that podcast was like, never go into business with anybody. Just do it yourself. And I don't like absolutes. Mm-hmm. So never do that. I'm like, maybe. And then Jocko instantly was like, well, then I've been doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Because I always do. And then you're like, ooh, always? Maybe no absolutes. Yeah.
Well, and I think some of the. So what was the question? Some of.
Yeah. So what are some things that people would say are bad about partners?
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there is partnerships that end up terribly.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. I haven't had any partnerships that have really ended terribly badly.
Yeah.
Part of that is because I haven't allowed it to. Yeah. And I've said, what, it's not worth it to have a chip on my shoulder or whatever. And I mean, I say that, but I mean, there's always stuff that might linger and bug you a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
But to have these, we always hear of the terrible thing where it just is completely devastates people.
Yeah.
And, I think that's kind of up to ourselves to decide if we're going to let that happen or not. But but that can happen. You can get into business with the wrong kind of person.
Yeah.
People can be dishonest, and people can wreck partnerships and wreck businesses. Whether it's they're taking more money than they should, or they're taking more time than they should. They're off golfing while you're working, and so you're doing 80% of the work and they're doing 20% of the work or whatever.
Yeah.
That can happen.
Yeah. Now, if that's laid out in the terms, then you kind of know. And it's like, hey, maybe I own 20% of the business. That's the other thing. We were kind of talking about this as if it's like a 50-50 deal. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You can lay this out however you want. It can be that someone owns 1% of the business. Mm-hmm. There can be 5 people that own 1%. You own 95%. It just depends on. It's so individualized.
Well, and I think back to a partnership that I had. It was like that. I think I might have owned. I mean, it was a junior. There was 2 of us that owned junior shares, 2 that owned senior type shares. And ours was quite small, like 5%. But it was kind of laid out. Like, well, yeah, over time you have the opportunity to get more or whatever. And kind of laid out that way. So it can be laid out however you want. A lot of times too, say an investor is bringing money to the table, but you're bringing work to the table. Somebody's bringing the capital and you're bringing maybe the knowledge and the skill to do it. Well, your responsibilities are going to be different.
Yeah.
But you might still have 50-50 ownership, or maybe you look at Shark Tank.
Yeah.
They're doing that all the time. Yeah. Those guys are getting a 5% share or 10% share or whatever. And so you think about, well, that's kind of weird that they would just want a 5% share. Well, there's benefits and there's pros and cons to each side. The shark is getting the percentage of the business.
Yeah.
For some money with probably very little work, a little
just
bit
some connections.
Probably. Some connections,
some partnerships.
And then the entrepreneur that's coming in and pitching the idea is getting, the majority share in the business.
Yeah.
But they're able to now say, hey, I'm doing business with Mark Cuban or whatever, So, I think it's just being upfront about that.
For sure.
What the roles and responsibilities of each partner are.
And what's 5% of $1 billion?
Yeah.
50 million?
Is that what it would be?
I don't know.
When they start adding zeros on it, it's hard to do math.
But
$1 billion, so 10% would be 100 million, and then 50 million.
So 50 million, yeah, so it's okay. 5% is great.
Yeah.
So then what do you do with that 50?
Yeah.
start a business.
That's right.
Yeah, I think there's ups and downs. I know this was very skewed towards the ups, but it's just individualized, you know?
Yeah.
For us right now, I think it's great. You can't go podcast by yourself, you know, and there's a good synergy here. It's also tough to here's the thing, it is very tough to do a complete business by yourself. Mm-hmm. It really is. And I keep using contractors and framers. It's probably just, you know, because of what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah.
With our house and everything. But a contractor that does it all is a contractor that could be making more money. If he's out framing and he's invoicing and he's marketing and this and that. No. Like, you've got to figure out a partnership. Doesn't mean that it has to be part of the business as far as, you know, 50-50 or anything, but you've got to figure out some partnerships to maximize what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Someone can do the books. And today, you can partner with someone in India.
Yeah.
And they're making great money in India. And for us, it's not very much. You know, $8 to $15 an hour. They're living like a king. And we have a bookkeeper for $15 an hour.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's way cool.
And because they freelance, it might be 2 or 3 hours a week for them. Good luck finding someone here that can 2 or 3 hours a week. Mm-hmm. They're just not going to do it. But there, you know, he has, let's say,
30 of them.
Yeah, 30 of them. Mm-hmm. But he's living like, it's cool.
Yeah.
He's living like a king over there. So you actually have to partner.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I think that's kind of, you know, I think it's Robert Kiyosaki that always talks about building your team, you know. And so, I mean, I think realize when you start out a business, you're going to have a team. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a business partner, you know, that's in the business. I would say, too, if you can start the business by yourself and do it, you know what the vision is, you have it all together. You have the capital, or you have access to the capital, do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of moving parts and things when you start adding partners. That I think just doing it yourself, you can probably get stuff done quicker. You can get it done, you know what I mean, as far as just up and running and going and off you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
That being said, if you are unsure about that, or there's some key elements of the business idea that would benefit by a partner, it's okay to get a partner, but do these things that we've talked about to make that run and function properly.
Yeah.
And just know that it's just more, it's more communication. It's more, you know, it magnifies all that stuff, which is fine.
It might be a little more work, but it's definitely worth the reward.
Can be.
Can be.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know that we debunked that necessarily. And it's interesting because it seems like when you hear people talk about partnerships on YouTube or whatever, there's a lot of negativity around partnerships.
Yeah.
And I think that when you do have a negative partnership, there is the potential there to really make it can be quite negative. And so I wonder if a lot of people kind of have had those experiences and have walked away to the point where it's like, it's not even worth it anymore.
It makes sense. Connecting it with emotion. You know, if someone really hates a food, well, it's because they had one really negative experience with that food.
Yeah.
Like, I had grapes and I threw up.
I'm never eating them again.
Yeah. You're like, well, 20 years down the road, maybe you like grapes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, 20 years down the road, you would like grapes if they're the same grapes because they've
fermented. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Which would be a great business for someone to get into if they want to start saving grapes.
That's right. We talked about doing a business ideas podcast, and we need to do that. That'd just be fun.
Oh, it would. Honestly, it would probably be like an hour and a half of just one after another, and it just leads into more and more.
I think we should.
Let's do it. We could even do it tomorrow. We're both on that. I love that city that we live in.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. People get on there and they're like, I wish there was a Carl's Jr. here. And like, that's awesome. You should start one. And then they give all the reasons why they can't start one.
I don't have time to do that.
And like, well, then maybe there's not a Carl's Jr. coming to town. It's not my fault.
Drive to Idaho Falls.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting. There's so much, and we won't even get into it because I could just start right now. Just do this, do that.
Yeah.
There's so much, so that'll be a fun episode.
So what, I guess maybe to wrap it all together on partnerships, like what would kind of be our takeaways or our points on that?
Yeah. So me personally, I would say it can be very beneficial. Mm-hmm. And it can be very detrimental.
Yeah.
It's just going to depend. It's individualized. If you're going to do a partnership, you need to know that you constantly need to be working on yourself, and that includes communication.
Yeah.
That's really what it ends up being. I can't change my partner, but I can sure change myself.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. I think right along those same lines. Know yourself, know your personality. If your personality is not going to work in that kind of situation, then don't go there. And then, communication, having that structure built around that, very clear responsibilities and very clear things up front, and structured in a way that you can go back and reference it, and go back and review it and that kind of stuff, which is good stuff to have in any business anyway.
Yeah, I like that a lot. But going back and being able to review it, and then it has been done, it's been written down, but then reminding yourself every once in a while, hey, what are my roles? Has this deviated? Do we need to have more conversation here? Do we need to change something?
Yeah, I like that too. I don't know that we brought that up, but that might be a good thing too. Just even saying, hey, do you feel like there's anything that we need to change? Sitting down and having that good conversation. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, those crucial, difficult conversations that we don't want to have, but that right after it's done, you're like, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah, I like that.
Like a good burp.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I think too with the structure, so open information.
Yeah.
Open finances, everybody knows what's going on there and can see it all the time.
Yeah.
What's going on. I can't really think of a time in a business when you wouldn't be able to do that. And that might be access to bank accounts. That might be like monthly reports, like people are responsible for a monthly report or something if they're over that. I don't know, but just structuring in a way to where there's always access. There's no way that stuff can be hidden or whatever, I don't know.
I think in some co-ops and employee-owned businesses, you can have kind of some not hidden, but only certain people have access to.
Yeah.
Now that, to me, it's not really a partnership. You're a partner because you're employee-owned and everything, but there might be some things you don't have access to, but in any normal partnership, I totally agree. You have to have. And if I were actually in that employee-owned and I'm the one who owns 0.001 of the company, I still want to see what the top is spending money on.
Yeah. Well, and it should be. I would think even in. I don't know directly, but I would think even in that kind of an instance that it would be open source as well.
They should.
You think about publicly traded companies, it's all open. You think about like governments, city and county governments and stuff, it's all open for the most part. There's some, so why not have that in your own small business?
Yeah. Have it with your wife too.
Yep.
Yep. Hey, what's this money that came out? Well, I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Well,
it was a gun.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
It was either a gun or it was Milwaukee Tools, okay?
Well, and and some of that, maybe too, is do a little bit of, looking at, if you have a potential business partner, look at that. Go put some effort into getting to know what their relationship's like, what their finances are like, what their reputation's like, You can figure out pretty quickly if you go talk to people in the community or whatever, or people that they've done business before, if somebody's going to work out or not.
Yeah.
There's some people that I know of. I don't even really know them that personally, but never, and it's pretty apparent to know, it's pretty easy to know, no, I'm just not going to go there. Even if there was, and maybe this is a hard part too, is if there's the prospect of lots of money, maybe there's a temptation to kind of go there. But, there's some people that even if it was a $5 million profit deal, it's just like, I just don't. No, it's good.
Don't compromise your morals and ethics.
Yes.
You know, if it's someone in business that is morally and ethically different than you, don't even go there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point in that at all. You're just going to become less.
Yep.
There's no reason in life that we should become less ever.
Yeah. Yep. And think about what your reputation will be on the outside. If somebody, on the other side of that,
Yeah.
if somebody kind of has maybe a not great reputation or whatever, how's that going to affect you? And so I think just the way that we conduct ourselves in all of that, it continues to build on each other, and whatever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, reputation is huge.
Yeah.
Back to Win Friends and Influence People, that talks about that in there a bunch,
Yeah.
on how that works. So anyway,
Yeah.
cool.
It's all a circle.
It's all a circle. So our summary is: do business on yourself with yourself.
Yeah.
If you do take a partner, make sure you have good communication, good structure, openness, good communication skills.
Even that list that you just gave right there shows how much more work it is to have a partnership.
Yeah.
But it might be worth it.
And those should be done in your
Very
personal business
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, can you imagine if you tried to add value to yourself? You know, if you had good open communication with yourself,
Yeah.
don't lie to yourself, don't be ethically and morally wrong with yourself. Like, dang, got a good partnership with myself at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's true. That might be the best part, the most important partnership.
our it seems like at the very end we've just figured out what we've been talking. That's kind of one of the fun things. We kind of figure out as we're talking, and then it ends.
Yeah. That's
It
it.
never ends.
Be a good partner with yourself.
That's cool.
So
It's fun. Well, hey, I appreciate
good.
today. We'll get back together tomorrow. This will be released Friday, and then the next one on Tuesday. I flaked out last week, so only one was released because of this.
I think we still have a back episode too that we can go back. That one that we talked about,
Oh yeah,
so we could release that one too.
Sweet.
And then anyway, we've got an extra one we can fit in there somewhere. It'd be great. So yeah, we'll get this one up this week too.
awesome. Well, if anyone has any questions, as always, please reach out and talk to us. We're getting our website kind of finished and finalized. No real social media yet, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You guys have a podcast to listen to.
Yeah, we've got some other stuff in the work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, some fun stuff.
So
Yeah,
we're just plugging along. We're just having fun.
it is. It's good.
So,
Cool. Well, thanks, Matt. We'll
Thank
see
you. See ya. Yeah, I think we still have that episode where we just
Yeah. Do you remember what it was? I don't know why I didn't post
it was like no holds barred episode.
Well,
I don't think we put that one up yet.
I think I did put that one out.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I haven't yet. Then I'm behind.
No,
You're up to date,
I
and I'm
feel like
behind.
there's one that I am off on.
'Cause I don't think I put that one up yet. Did you? Do you know what you titled it? The the open mic day.
I thought I called it No Holds Barred.
Oh, maybe.
Freedom, risk, you are a salesman. Yeah, No Holds Barred, current events, conspiracy fact.
I gotta get that up then. I didn't see that one.
I still feel
I'll
like
get
that
that
one
one up
behind
today.
somehow though.
I think I didn't notice any. I think we're up. Besides me getting the video of that one up.
It's all good. You should put those on and listen to the sound quality of this. It's crazy. It has like this setting that even if this is running, it's supposed to dampen it. I should have shut that off. I didn't even think about it. But
I couldn't. Like, is it running right now what it was?
yeah.
I can't hear it necessarily,
Yeah,
like
it's-
any background noise.
It sounds so good.
That does sound good. That does sound good.
Yeah, it's good sound. It's cool.
Yeah, this is way cool. Thanks for doing this.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Thanks for coming and doing podcasts. It really is fun. Like I look forward to it, and it's just enjoyable.
Yeah.
Even if it never like makes a dime, it doesn't matter to me. Like
Well, like I've said too, is it's good accountability for me too.
Yeah.
Like, as we come in and talk about this stuff, I'm like, oh, that's something I need to do. I need to, whatever. And so it's good.
I thought I brought my rifle in here, but I hung it right there. Okay. I was
Is,
like, missing a rifle.
So is Adam coming here?
Yeah.
To do?
Just into the yoga room here.
Oh, cool. I grabbed my stuff and tell him to pick up.
Sweet.
Maybe I'll go get it and just